Hi, I'm Liz with Toth Properties, powered by EXP Realty. I'm a residential real estate agent in Raleigh, North Carolina, and today's video is all about the pros and cons of living in Raleigh or living in the Triangle. And I moved here from another state about 7 or 8 years ago, and I've lived in several states over the years. I lived in a grand total of 8 states, including North Carolina. So I have my own list of pros and cons about the Raleigh-Durham area. I also have helped so many people move here from other states, and I've gotten feedback from them about what they love about Raleigh, what they don't love about Raleigh. So using all that information, I put together what I think is a pretty good list. And we're going to start with the cons. What are the cons of living in Raleigh or the Triangle area? So one, this is probably the number one thing I hear from folks. And the number one concern that I hear from folks that are wanting to move here is that the summer can be pretty hot and humid. And if you're not used to it, it can be kind of tough. So it starts usually, and I wanted to share my screen because I found something cool online to really show the humidity levels in the area. So you can see they start, humidity starts to get kind of bad in May, but it really gets bad in July and August. Those are like the worst months for humidity in the area. And then it starts to trend down in September. In fact, the worst month for the Raleigh area is the most humid days are basically it's July with 25.4 days are muggy or worse. So the summertime can be pretty tough here. And again, as I mentioned, if you're not used to it, it can be kind of tough to get used to. The next thing, and this is something that it bothers me a lot because I do have allergies and I do have asthma, is the pollen season. And I'm talking specifically about the tree pollen in the area. And if you have pollen in your area, you know what I'm talking about. But I found this photo to kind of demonstrate what it can look like sometimes. So this comes from the trees. It's that yellow dust. It can look like a haze. It coats everything. So your patio furniture, your screen porch, your cars, me as well. Like when I'm out showing homes, I get home, I feel like I have pollen all over me. So if you have asthma or allergies, this can be a tougher time of year. You just have to be prepared with your allergy medicine or your asthma inhalers. So that can be kind of an uncomfortable time of year. The next thing is that I hear a lot about, or I get a lot of questions on, is hurricanes. So what happens in Raleigh when there's a hurricane on the coast? We get high wind and a lot of rain. And there are parts of the Triangle that do see flooding sometimes, but for the most part, it's just high winds and rain, and it's nothing like what they're getting at the coast. You just stay home, you plan to not go out. It's kind of like getting a snowstorm. You just plan to not go out, you stay home and stay safe. So hurricanes, mainly high wind and rain. There was one hurricane, I think it was Hurricane Fran, where the eye of the hurricane actually went over Raleigh, and that actually caused a lot of damage. So that can happen, but it's rare. In the time I've lived here, I think there's been 2 or 3 hurricanes that have come this way, and it's just really wind and rain. Next, this surprises a lot of people, and I always mention this to people because I work with a lot of folks who love to be outside and walk their dogs and things like that. We do have copperheads. So copperheads are poisonous, and you do have to be careful when you're out and about. Umstead State Park, it has a lot of hiking trails. They're out there. You have to be careful. Watch where you step, watch where your dog or your pet is going. I've even seen them in my neighborhood, out in the street. So they're everywhere. You really have to be careful during certain times of year. I have a dog, and I'm just more careful. I don't let him sniff and get into bushes certain times of the year because that's really where they're at. So you just really have to be cognizant of that and pay attention and be careful. The next thing is, and this is kind of high on my list of cons as well, are the mosquitoes. Mosquitoes can be really bad in the summer because we get rain and it's humid. So that really makes a breeding ground for mosquitoes. So it can be kind of tough when you go outside. And I'm telling you, I've tried a lot of things in my backyard, and it does not seem to make a dent in the mosquitoes. They're very tough. So if you don't like mosquitoes, that can be a con as well. This is something that I've heard from a lot of folks who come from big cities, is that we have poor public transportation, and that the area is pretty spread out. So you do have to drive for the most part if you're going to go somewhere. So, and I wanted to show a map so that you can see how spread out we are. So this shows, obviously Raleigh's here. You have the southern part of the metro, Garner, Holly Springs. You can see how far these areas are from Raleigh, Apex, Cary, and then if you live in Raleigh and you want to go up to Durham. So it's very spread out. You do need, either an Uber, or you do have to plan to drive to, certain areas if you're wanting to get out and about and do some, like go to a show or things like that. The thing that I hear a lot from folks is they're looking for places, communities that are walkable. We don't have a lot of that either. So that is something that, I get feedback a lot of times from clients about that. The next thing is, and this is the last on the list of cons, is that we have a really competitive real estate market, and we do. We have companies that have been moving here over the years, people moving here. I've mentioned in a few videos I've done now that the Wake County grows by about 62 people per day. That includes births and deaths. So that's a lot of people coming to Wake County every single day. The whole area is growing. And we don't have enough housing, and we haven't had enough housing for years. So we have very low inventory levels. So if you're a buyer and you're out in the market, you have to be working with someone who really, truly understands and can navigate that competitive market to help you get a home. So that's my list of cons for the area. If you have any specific cons, if you live in the area and there are things that you think are important for people to know, feel free to message me. I'm happy to update the video at any time or include that information going forward. But I'm going to go to my list of pros. So I have a lot of my own personal pros on this list as to reasons why I moved here. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and like I've said, I've lived all over the United States, total of 8 states over the years. I used to have a corporate career, and I did 5 corporate relocations. So I feel like I have a really good background in what makes this Raleigh different than some of the other places in the country. So one of my favorite things is weather. Yes, we do have hot and humid summers, but I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. We had brutal winters, very cold, lots of snow. We don't have that here. We get all 4 seasons, but it's a much milder climate in the winter, and the winters are also shorter. And that's something that I've gotten a lot of feedback from clients as well, that's why they like this area too. During the winter, for the most part, you can go outside year round. You just have to dress accordingly. But there's not it's very rare that we would get 10 below zero, where I lived in Minneapolis for a while, the New England area as well. There are days there where you didn't want to leave the house. And it wasn't just one day, it was several days in a row. So that's one of the great things about the area is the weather and the milder winter climate. 2, this is another thing that's important to me as well. I am a runner. I have a dog. He's back there taking a nap right now, but we like to get outside a lot and walk a lot. So I love parks and recreation. That's something that's really important to me, to have access to a safe place to get out and run and walk my dog. And when I say safe, I mean, I'm not running on the street and getting run over, for example. So I wanted to show my favorite park is Umstead State Park. I actually don't live too far from it. This is a 5,500 acre park, and it has tons of hiking trails. It has lakes. People go in there and they fish, they walk, they run, they bike. You can even ride your horse through Umstead State Park. But yeah, it's a huge park. It stretches all the way from Raleigh, from 70 and 540 basically, all the way down to 40 over near Cary. So this gives you a better. So you can see it's going up towards the Raleigh-Durham area here. We call this the Briar Creek area, and then all the way down over by Cary. So it's a great park, and we have a lot of good parks. We have lots of greenway systems throughout the triangle. We have the American Tobacco Trail, which that's an old railroad track that's been converted into a fitness path. So there's a lot of great recreational areas and parks and things like that here. And that's something, it's quality of life if you like that kind of thing. So the next one is the strong job market. We have had a lot of businesses moving here. This is a great area for business. And I wanted to share my screen again and show you all the investment and businesses moving here over the last several years. It's been $5 billion in investment in our area and over 8,500 jobs. So we've had a ton of economic development in the area, not just in Wake County, all over the triangle. And these are some of the recent announcements. I know a lot of people really got focused on Apple when Apple decided to move their headquarters here or establish a headquarters here. Amgen is another one, Fujifilm. So a lot of investments in the area. And the reason for this is, some of the things we mentioned, it's a milder climate. There's also a lower cost of living when you compare to like California, for example. We also have, and this will take me into my next point, is we have great education here. So we have a lot of people who are coming out of our universities. We have a great talent pool. So these businesses will move here and then they will pull from the universities for that talent pool. And U.S. News and this ranks best colleges, and Duke ranked number 10, and Duke is located in Durham. And then there's UNC Chapel Hill, was ranked number 29 on this list as well. So we have some great education in the area, which that helps as well. This is one of my favorite ones, and this, I agree with this, and I hear this a lot from my clients. People are nice. I've lived all over the place. I've traveled a lot internationally with my corporate job, and I can say that I agree. For the most part, people in the Triangle are very nice. I've had clients tell me, like, it's amazing. I go to merge on the highway and people let me in. They don't try to cut me off. So it's a very positive thing. I always see, like, when I go running and I'm out on the greenway, people will wave, they'll say hello, they'll smile. It's not like that all over the place. So that's one of the things that's really nice about the Raleigh-Durham area. And lastly, and I've heard this is a pro and a con. For me, it's a pro. But the location, we're a couple hours, maybe 2 to 3 hours to the nearest mountain, depending on where you are in the Triangle. And we're about 2 hours to the nearest beach, again, depending on where you're at in the Triangle. Now, some folks say that that's too far. I understand that, but I still like having relatively easy access to both locations. You could do either one in a day trip to either one. So that's it. That's my list of pros and cons and reasons why, cons about Raleigh, and then reasons why you may want to move to Raleigh. So if you have questions on the area or want more information, feel free to reach out. If you want more information on the Raleigh-Durham area, check out my YouTube channel. I have city tours, things to do, community tours, lots of information about the area. Also market videos that talk a little bit about what's going on in the real estate market here locally as well. And if you have any questions, you want information on Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, feel free to reach out. I look forward to talking to you soon, and I hope you have a great day.